righty. So I know we have a few more people coming in. This is being recorded, just so everybody knows. So we will make sure to get you out a copy. You can pass it along to some other colleagues or whatnot, or some peers at different schools. Maybe you can come. My name is Ryan Casey. I'm the director of Esports. With me is my partner in crime, the assistant director, Maggie Helmer. We both work for the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, but we run the Esports League for all of our esports athletes in the state of Michigan. And we also have Patty from Play Versus, who's going to be talking from their end. Play Versus is our league partner that helps us operate or power up our league. Just a couple things before we jump in, though, what we're going to cover and all that good stuff. The chat is open if you just want to kind of share an idea or comment. If you actually have a question, if you can try to use the Q&A, and Maggie will be watching that as Patty and I are talking and can interject. And we want to make sure we get every question that you possibly have about esports answered. So you guys are feeling more comfortable as you go into the unknown. But otherwise, I'll get you a copy of the slide deck and the recording probably by tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. So we are the Michigan High School Esports League. Let me go back one here, if I can. Oh, I'm going too far ahead now. Uh-oh. Here we go. Sometimes you might hear, somebody might say, oh, it's the Play Versus League, or, oh, it's the MASSP, the Principals League. So we kind of all are kind of coordinated and work together here. But really what we try to explain to people is we are the Michigan High School Esports League. We use the acronym MHSEL. It just kind of makes it easier so everybody understands who's all in the same sandbox playing together. But you might hear Play Versus, you might hear MASSP, MASC, a lot of acronyms here, but MHSEL is the one we're going to be using going forward. But this wouldn't be possible without our partners from Play Versus, who really help with the registration process. They actually power the platform that we use to do all the scheduling and matchmaking and results. And so that's where Patty's going to jump in just a few minutes and kind of explain how all that works as well. We have been around for 3 years now. We just finished our third year, our sixth season. We do 2 seasons a year, fall and spring, kind of follows the semester schedule, if you will. We are a varsity level league, and there are 9 different game titles for your kids to participate in. And we work actually closely with a sample of different coaches and directors from across the state that make up our advisory board to help make this experience the best it can be for not just the coaches and the schools, but obviously the students. And so we have a mission of trying to provide a safe, competitive, and curricular environment that allows student athletes the opportunity to work on critical skill sets and explore career paths, and really, most importantly, to contribute to their school's culture within varsity esports. And we want to be, the elite premier high school esports league in the state. We are the largest competitive league in the state. There are other options out there. Some schools participate in multiple leagues, and that's okay too. But we do a lot of cool things within our league that I think you're going to learn about throughout our time together. So hopefully you guys will feel good about your choice, about joining us next school year. And I think you're going to be amazed at what response you're going to get from kids, especially kids who have not traditionally been involved in anything extracurricular at your school before. And that's been the most rewarding part for me to watch that. So just so you know, I am a former technology teacher. I'm a former high school principal. So I am passionate about, providing opportunities for kids. And that's why I enjoy what I do. We've been around for 3 years. So next year will be our 4th year. We have really just exploded, to be honest with you. I think we started with 20 schools, 25 teams during the remote lockdown COVID fall of 2020 year. And we just set a record for ourselves this last spring with about 93 schools, 385 teams, and over 1,300 kids participating. And I think we're on track. My goal for next year, I think we're going to be at about 150 schools, 500 teams, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 kids. And it's just going to keep going up from there. So you'll kind of look at the little heat map there. And if you're curious whatever schools are in here, we can get you that list of schools. I'll probably attach it as a follow-up to this webinar. So if you want to find a neighboring school district that maybe is already joining, we can connect the coaches, we can connect the IT folks together to help make the onboarding process that much easier for you. There's actually a really cool referral program that Play Versus offers as well, that a referring school can get a new school to join, and both schools can get up to possibly like $500 off their enrollment fees, which is really cool. And that's like a free Rocket League team for the year, just about. So it's a really cool way, kind of grassroots, to grow. We've got schools up in the UP, all the way northern Michigan down to southeast, southwest Michigan. So it's been really fun to watch this grow, and it's going to continue to do so. I'm going to switch to a different window real quick, because one other thing I want to show you is this heat map. Can you guys see that okay? Maggie, can you see that? You got it? All right. So I'm not going to steal all of Patty's thunder. She talks about some of these statistics and whatnot, but it really is cool to kind of see all the different people that participate in our league. We have some really cool partners as well. Obviously, PlayVersus is our league platform partner, but we work with all of the different colleges in the state. Collegiately, Michigan is a leader in the nation. I'm not sure if some people realize that, but there are, I think, 28 college esports programs. Some offer scholarships, believe it or not. So we worked with Oakland, Ferris, Grand Valley, Concordia, Michigan State. We work with professional organizations. The Detroit Pistons have a professional gaming team called Pistons GT. They are actually the reigning NBA 2K 3v3 NBA champs, believe it or not. So it's really cool to work with different entities and partners, both collegiately and professionally, within our state of Michigan. All those people like to give back. And you can kind of see on the right side of the screen some of those percentage breakdowns of our growth and what types of schools are playing in our league in different sizes. What's cool about esports, what makes it easy, especially if you have any athletic director friends that kind of cringe at the idea of esports and adding one more thing to their plate, is we like to say, hey, there's no refs and there's no travel. So we can have Menominee take on Dakota. We can have Mackinac Island take on East Grand Rapids. And you can have all these different schools participate right from their own school setting without having to travel. And as we grow, maybe some of that'll change with divisions and leagues and sizes of schools. I think we'll get there at some point, but it is one of the cool experiences. We can expand outside your county, outside your athletic league, and give people some really cool experiences being able to play other schools. So this is just an infographic. Like I said, it kind of does a really good job of breaking down some of the numbers. And our favorite one right here, and again, I apologize, Patty, if I'm stealing your thunder on the 45% quote, but 45% of the kids traditionally have never participated in any other extracurriculars before. So not just sports. These aren't just, I'm not a football, I'm not a volleyball kid. They haven't done band, they haven't done theater, they haven't done art club, right? And so we can get those kids involved. We can get them, they have to be at school, right? They have to get good grades. They can't be getting sit down in the principal's office, and it just engages with them and makes them feel like they're part of the school community. And so it really is a win-win. But I'm going to pause there. I'm going to let Patty get into the nuts and bolts of how does the league work with the format and the seasons and the games and all that good stuff. And then we're going to talk about some things that make our league unique and some really exciting plans that we have, that we've done the last couple of years, and that we're going to continue and add on to going into next year. And while we're doing that, do you want to take a look, Maggie? Do we have anything in the Q&A or chat? We're good?
Yes, there was a question, but I have answered it and we're all set.
Okay.
Great, and I managed to unmute myself. Hello, everyone. As Ryan mentioned, I'm here representing PlayVersus. Today we'll go over who PlayVersus is, what we can accomplish together, and essentially deep dive into the questions in the platform and how to get started for a possible start next season. Of course, again, my name is Patty. I work with schools that are new to esports or looking to build out their network. PlayVersus is able to accommodate both and lean into our strengths for those schools that are looking for a real white glove onboarding service to get you all started with your first team, or if you're looking to expand the competition, just basically plugging and playing into our network to be able to do that. Mike Buck, he is not here today with me, but he supports returning schools. So we provide a constant scaffold of support, whether you're just onboarding or returning school. A little bit about PlayVersus. We are the official partner of the National Federation of High School Sports. We recently just minted a partnership with Canada, with the Canadian Association, the CIAA. which when you're scrimmaging, it matters because when you scrimmage, you're able to plug into a bit of a larger network versus when you're playing with your matches. We also have gaming publisher partnerships with Blizzard and Nintendo, which will come into play with promotions that we have for early bird. With Nintendo, for example, there's opportunities to be able to get a Nintendo Switch bundle if you haven't received one for your school just yet, to be able to get your program started. And through Blizzard, one of our titles is Hearthstone. You're able to get mini games unlocked and a series of I think cards unlocked. So I'll talk more about one of the special affiliations with PlayVersus, which is the unified program with Special Olympics, a little bit further down the line here in the presentation. In terms of what we provide for coaches, Ryan touched on it. We are the place, the mission control to come to plug into your matches, to plug into scrimmages. If you want to participate casually, you're not looking to compete, you're able to scrimmage at no cost. So you can set up teams and plug into our network to be able to compete at an expert level, a beginner level, or a casual level through our scrimmage feature in the platform itself. We also provide, as I mentioned, support throughout your process. So whether you're just starting to start up your esports program or you're looking for coach resources, there's a PlayVersus Coach Academy, which is like a LinkedIn modules that you can go through. But realistically, as Ryan already mentioned, we're not looking for coaches that are esports aficionados or gamers that know the ins and outs of, what a League of Legends coach rulebook. We have a team of league operations which support you in-app when you're actually competing to handle disputes regarding illegal turtle shell uses, code cheat codes. That doesn't happen often, but we do offer that support. I'm going to pause there. Any questions so far in the chat before I get into the why? Essentially, I think we're in a unique space for esports. I'm having more and more conversations with administrators about how do we get this started versus the why. I think as schools and districts are bringing esports into their after school activities, they get to see it when they walk into a room and there's a match that's happening and a student who's typically quiet within the classroom setting is really coming alive and, collaborating with their teammates and, really just a completely different student from the ones walking through the hallways. This statistic was already mentioned, 45% of students competing in esports, this was their first after school activity. That's despite 97% of students playing video games at home. So right now is a really unique time for esports. Beyond the social emotional benefits, there are collegiate opportunities right now, which we're in a very unique space with esports because, traditionally getting a college scholarship for football, soccer is very competitive. But right now, because of the timing with esports and the way that it's been sort of newly embraced by school districts and scholastic partners, it's not as competitive. So there is an opportunity there for a lot of students to be able to come through that college scholarship door for college. Any questions so far before we get into the platform? And I'm kind of zipping through, so I'm happy since there's a good amount of people here. We can, if you have questions, they come up, feel free to ask them as they come top of mind. I'm happy to answer those. This is our catalog of game titles that we offer. We offer, again, titles that align collegiately with the most popular collegiate titles. So that's League of Legends, Super Smash, Overwatch 2, and Rocket League. So what we've done is maintain those in our catalog. And then we have regional competitions that Ryan will talk about the uniqueness of that and our partnership with the MHSEL associated with certain titles. The ones that have like a orange outline, those are the ones that are more national. They're not going to be specific to the MHSEL, but you're able to still plug in and compete in those titles as well. Any questions in regards to the titles?
Game, that one can take sometimes up to about 2 hours or so, maybe 2.5 hours, believe it or not. All the other games are much quicker in that regard for the most part. You can kind of see from the graphics, it's a little hard to see on some of them. There are different size teams depending. So you do want to think about and consider, and there are documents that'll break down all of the hardware IT needs here. So certain games are, you can see they're kind of labeled PC. So League of Legends, you have to play that on an actual computer, not a Chromebook. I think it can technically be done on a Chromebook, but it's not very fun to go through the hassle, try and get it set up. But you are going to want to be on a laptop or a desktop, and that is a 5-person game. So you got to think, if I have 2 League of Legends teams, do I have 10 available computers for them to play on? Because they would both play at 4 o'clock, Team A and Team B, or Team Red and Team White. Rocket League says PC/console. So you can play that just about on any device. If it can play the game, then you can compete in the league. So whether it's PC, desktop, laptop, or Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. So again, you have to think about capacity. There are schools that allow students to bring in their own device. They bring it in, they check it in with their coach or the teacher, whoever it is, before school starts, and they use it after school. I know principals and coaches that go out and get maybe a small budget, and they're able to buy some used Nintendo Switches or PlayStations, Xboxes on Facebook Marketplace or at the GameStop store, right? So there's a lot of different options here. A lot of times on the consoles too, actually, especially the Nintendo consoles, you can actually have multiple kids playing from one console. So it's not like every kid needs to have their own Nintendo Switch to play Smash Brothers or to play Mario Kart. They can all use the same Switch. So just some of those things, and it would take too long to go through all the nitty gritty of each one of those right now, but those are all in some of the supporting documents in the rule books. And so just something to think about if you're trying to figure out your space and where you're going to hold this and how many machines or how many monitors or consoles you're considering buying. Keep that in mind.
We do have a question in the chat about how long it usually takes for Rocket League.
That good question. So it really depends on if it goes to the best of the series, right? If somebody gets swept, because it's like a best of 7, right? They're playing, what is it, 5 matches within a best of 7, I think, something like that. So if somebody gets swept in the first 4 out of 7, that's only going to take a little over half the time it possibly could. So if you're in the hour to hour and a half range, it's probably been a pretty competitively balanced match, and you're kind of you're probably playing through most of those rounds, versus if those people were to get swept by a really good school right off the bat, you might only been playing for 40 minutes then. So it just kind of depends on, and that might change from week to week, depending on how competitively balanced that match is.
Yep.
And then
just working backwards also from, if you're just starting your program, I say check your student interests, because your esports program sort of lives and dies by where the student interest is. So if there's no student interest in the catalog that we offer, then, you're not going to plug into our network. I will say that the Nintendo titles do lend themselves really well to first starting out your esports program, just because of overhead costs. As Ryan already mentioned, you can have one Nintendo Switch support a Super Smash team. For Mario Kart, you would need minimum 2. And then for Splatoon, which these are the Nintendo titles, you would need 4. And I was going to pop into, I guess I missed the publisher partnership piece with Nintendo. We provide those game codes for the Nintendo titles, online membership codes for the Nintendo titles as well. So there's another reason why a lot of schools choose to go with plugging into the Nintendo titles first. And then a quick kind of asterisk for PlayStation. Our PlayStation games are NBA 2K and Madden. Those are the solo playing games. And they're only the way that we structured all the remaining games, those are team play. So Hearthstone's usually a 1 player, Mario Smash can be 1 player. But what I want to call out is if you're purchasing PlayStations, you'll want to purchase the PlayStation 5. So this academic season coming up, fall, spring, next academic school year, we'll still be okay with the PlayStation 4, but we will be transitioning. So if you're looking to invest, just keep that in mind.
Survey, because you'll find that you might run certain games from, you know, one year that all of a sudden that group graduated or there just isn't interest in that game. And so you want to try and be flexible with your capacity too, you know, but like Patty said, you don't want to go all in, making sure you have all these machines set up for League of Legends to find out that, oh, you only had one team and then the next year they were all seniors and now they don't want to play anymore, right? So just something to think about. And it's easy to manage all that stuff on the platform and switch what teams you want and adding players. That's all really easy stuff. So.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. And essentially where you're going to plug into, you know, create scrimmages, practices, or come in to queue up for your actual game day, which are going to be Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, depending on the title that you're playing. PlayVersus is a web-based platform. Again, it is your mission control to be able to do that. You can also pull stats and statistics from our platform, and we're constantly taking coach user feedback to continuously improve on the product. Part of the feature that is my favorite feature is the scrimmaging feature, and that came from coaches' feedback. So as I mentioned earlier, your game days are going to be Tuesday, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, but you can create a scrimmage and at any time, whether we're in season in the fall or in the spring or, you know, on the summer break, it does not follow fall or spring season. You can do it anytime. And coaches are the only ones that can create these scrimmages for students. And they can get really granular as far as like, hey, I want to play Smash at beginner or competitive or casual. And that's when you plug into our larger network and can end up playing or scrimmaging a school on the East Coast or even a Canadian accredited high school. So this is a really neat feature, and you can do this without actually registering on PlayVersus and enrolling a actual team. So this is a really great feature to get students warmed up. You know, maybe they're not interested in competing in leagues, but they just want to practice and be a part of a team. They can do that through the scrimmage feature. This is a really great partnership that PlayVersus have through our unified program. I haven't talked about costs, but this is something that's completely free. So what it is it is a unified league. So it's not part of MHSEL. It's not even part of our general league for PlayVersus. This is a unified league, and it is a reduced catalog. So it is Rocket League or Mario Kart, but it's great because it pairs your general ed students with your students who have an IEP or 504. We piloted this about 3 years ago. It works really well with students who are not gamers. So, you know, this is no cost. In fact, there's an opportunity for schools to receive a grant through the Special Olympics. And so that could go towards coaches' stipends, towards hardware. But again, this is part of the Unified League. Any questions in regards to the Unified League? Okay. Another great feature, being able to plug into the PlayVersus platform and compete, is having that visibility with our partnership through USA Today. They're an online publication, which happen to be the source of truth for high school esports. So, you know, even one student who's playing Madden or NBA 2K can put your school on the map. We post these rankings weekly throughout the 8-week season and then into playoffs and championships. So it's really cool for administrators to call out, you know, hey, such and such, we're on, you know, check out online USA Today, you know, we're on the map, and they can shout out the student, which is always great. And then we have a separate partnership, which is Stay Plugged In, which they will have webinars that you can plug into regarding college scholarship opportunities. There are third-party arm for partnering with colleges and essentially recruiting students for their college programs. In terms of conversations for fall season participation, we're having those right now. We're gathering student interest and then working backwards from there with schools. Our preseason will start in September 11th. And then the registration deadline will close October 2nd. But really, I highly encourage schools, if they're thinking about participating in the fall, to start having those conversations with their administrators, getting student interest, and really just starting to prepare for fall season now. That way you can also take advantage of promotions that we have for early bird pricing, which of course we saved here for the last slide. Things to call out as far as fall season key dates. You will be asked to create create your bye week. From the 8 weeks, there is a bye week that all schools will take. So that's something to think about. Maybe it's an in-service week or however you want to think about it, but we've already carved out for the week of November. So that's something that's already been taken care of. In terms of preparation, the earlier you can start preparing, the better. Like I said, we're having those conversations right now with schools that are getting ready to compete in the fall season. There's benefits of pricing. As I mentioned, the early bird pricing comes in at 20% for unlimited. There's also Nintendo bundles associated. Those are first come, first serve for those schools that enroll early. And I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to, how do we start? Like I said, we're here to really white glove this service for you in terms of getting you onboarded and getting your school started if this is, your first delve into esports.
Add a couple of notes. So when they talk about pass and that sort of thing, so just the easiest way I always say to people is it's about $80 per kid, per game, per season. So if Susie wants to play 2 games in the fall, her cost would actually be $160. Right? If she wants to do 1 game in the fall and 1 game in the spring, $160, and they don't have to play in the fall and the spring, because you might have kids that are busy in different other extracurricular activities. But it's an easy way to just kind of think of it that way as you budget out. And as Patty mentioned, there's different discounts. If you're a Title I school, typically that sometimes can get you up to about 30% off. I think on average, what PlayVersus has shared with us, after they account for different early bird promotions and Title I discounts and things, that number actually is probably closer to about $50 per kid if you're able to qualify for some of those promotions. And then secondly, if you only have 6, 8, 12 kids, something like that, it makes probably more sense to do the per player pass, is what I usually direct people to do. If you have about 18 and above kids, you really should take a look at the unlimited, because that is unlimited kids playing unlimited games all year long, both seasons. Right? So, you take, just run the math. It's somewhere around like 18, 20, 22 kids. Once you kind of get into that zone, you're probably better off to do the unlimited, and then you can really open it up, and some of those kids will play multiple games. So, and again, there's discounts on all those in Title I and things. And then on the next slide, I know she had some of the promotions there. If you want to go to the next slide again, as Patty mentioned, it's possible to qualify for some of those.
We will work with you as far as like pricing goes. That's kind of the last step. So once you have your roster set and you can do the math, and there's a break even point, right? So like Ryan mentioned, I think it's 18 students. So if you have 18 students enrolled in the fall that want to participate in the spring, then you're better off going on the unlimited bucket. So the per player pass is like an a la carte model if you're just looking for a few students versus going kind of whole hog with unlimited and being able to unlock everything.
Player. And then what we've seen also in our own anecdotal kind of research Megan and I have done is we're seeing about double the growth in programs year after year. So although you might start with 6 to 8 in year 1, by year 2, you will probably be at 12 to 20. And so you'll probably get there at some point. Devin asked in the Q&A, and I already answered him, do schools need to buy jerseys to be able to represent their school? Nope. It's a really cool thing. It's a great way to get kids to wear their, school colors and have that school pride. If that's something you can build in the budget, do a little fundraising for. We do have a lot of schools that, because this is still new, it's not on everybody's contract, it's not in everybody's line item budget. Doing it the old fashioned method of writing letters to local businesses and organizations within the community, bake sales, that sort of thing to generate funds. We see a lot of schools stream their matches, which is a really cool aspect of esports, and it introduces some communication and some STEM skills to be able to have them be able to broadcast and do play-by-play and show their matches, because there's no bleachers, right, in the computer lab. So it's a cool way for parents, grandparents, their peers to be able to watch their match online while it's happening as well. And so I know it's not necessarily listed here with some other school benefits and options though, but don't forget, again, that referral thing, right? So if you have a neighboring school, please let us know, because if that person wants to help you and onboard you and they're going to work with you, whether it's the IT or the coach, it's a great way to get you both a little bit of money off your enrollment fees, just to kind of keep those costs down. And then you guys can turn around in the spring when you're a returning school and you can refer somebody. And if they join, you both get $500 still. So really, really cool system. But any questions right now about the overall match format, games, the season, playoffs, any of that sort of stuff? And I will go ahead. I'll have you stop while Maggie's checking the chat and the Q&A, Patty, and then I will share again if that's okay. Just go ahead and let me know, Maggie, if some more pop up or not. But just kind of going back to the Michigan High School Esports League, we really try and grow and do new things and add things in every year. Last year was the first time we did in-person state championships, which was really cool. So again, the benefit of esports is it's virtual. There is no busing, but kids do, believe it or not, still like being able to connect with these kids that they're playing already online that they've never met before, but they're able to do it in person. We usually do these at different college campuses. So on top of just getting them in person, kind of to experience the, having an audience and spectators there, we get them on a college campus and we get them talking with college esports athletes and college coaches and college directors, which I think is a huge benefit, because again, a lot of these kids have probably never stepped on a college campus before. So we did that again this last year. We just got done, as I mentioned, doing our spring championships at Western. This past school year, we started doing regional tournaments. So these have no bearing on the actual league standing. It doesn't impact playoffs. It doesn't impact your record. It's just a fun thing to do, kind of like just like your volleyball team goes out on weekends on a Saturday and does a quad or does an invitational, or your golf team, whatever. Same idea. We do those at different high schools and colleges. We did one at Divine Child High School in Dearborn. It was an individual smash tournament. We did a Rocket League tournament at Grand Valley State, and all the kids who went got a ticket to go to the Grand Rapids Griffins hockey game that night, and they got to meet the team and high-five them as they were going on the ice and stuff. And so we do a lot of different cool things like that. We're going to be expanding that. We're going to probably average one kind of fun extra event per month, just about. We do new coaches webinars. So for anybody that's going to be the lucky person that gets to coach, we have a webinar set up each season with some of our super coaches that'll just walk you through all the pitfalls to avoid. How do you do tryouts? How do you do two teams on the same game? How do you fundraise? What other network or equipment should I consider having? And they'll walk you through all that. We try and do some educational things for the kids on Twitch at night. So if you are not familiar with Twitch, it's basically YouTube for video games and people are broadcasting their games. So that's a space we try and do some things at night throughout the season to work with kids on. We work with college interns on different aspects of our league to help grow our league. Something really exciting next year, it'll be the first of its kind that I kind of know of. We're going to do a student shoutcasting competition, which will have some scholarship money tied to it, which I'm really excited about that in the fall. So we're going to get the save the date info out before the school year ends. We're still working on kind of the details on that, but just we're always adding in. That's just, what makes us, I think, different than other leagues that are kind of volunteer ran and things like that is Maggie and I spend, a large part of our job each day trying to make this the best experience possible for schools. And I think it's evident based on our growth and based on kind of the exciting things that we're doing. Question, Maggie.
Yep, we have a question in the chat going back to pricing a little bit. And it is regarding if we had a Rocket League team and how much the price would be for 2 seasons. And I guess the first clarifying question I know would ask is it only 3 players for the Rocket League team, or is there going to be an alternative player? And that would make a difference, as well as
Correct. Anybody that's on the roster, you would have to have a pass for, right? So there would be a cost. Most of them carry at least 1 sub, right? Because somebody's going to be sick. Somebody might have something else that they have to do. And so you don't want to have to forfeit your match, right? So it really is that $80 per player per game. So whether you're carrying 3 or 4, it would either be 3 times 8 or times 80 or 4 times 80. And then that would continue on to the next semester or the next season as well. So hopefully that helps answer that. We started a middle school option for this, by the way. So if you have middle school counterparts that are really interested in this, we did kind of a pilot program this year, but we are going to continue that into next year. So we will have a middle school league, a little, not quite as competitive, more of like a club model, if you will, for teams that maybe only meet like once a week type of a thing. But our colleague Nina Davis, you see her email there, is the person in charge of that. So if you feel free to pass her email along to the middle school decision makers if you think you have middle schoolers that would be interested. Patty showed you some of the dates here already, but fall will be here before you know it. Kicks off towards the end of September. Playoffs will start after Thanksgiving. And then we will plan on doing our in-person state championships in middle of December. Still working again on the details on that. And there is that interest survey. If you want to use that, you can hold your phone up right now. I'll leave it on the screen for a couple seconds. You can use that survey to see what your interest is for next year. A couple more seconds for that QR code. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to just give you an idea and I know Justin's on here, and so he got to see this himself in person. So when I was a principal, we started our first robotics club for the first time. I saw the kids tinkering on stuff in the room. They had their screwdrivers and drills, and they were banging away on things and looked kind of cool. They're working on some sort of cool contraption. I don't know what's going on. But then I went to my first robotics competition in a gym with a crowd, with music, with kids high-fiving and people cheering. And I got it, right? That's when it clicked for me, like, oh, I totally get what the excitement is about. I see why people are passionate about this. I see why this is great for kids. Esports does the same exact thing. And so sometimes it's hard because we're kind of trying to break stigma of like, video games are bad and all these things, but people don't get to see it because they're in a little classroom, they're in the computer lab after school, they're not in the gym where everybody can see, right? And so being able to do the championships in person is really important to us. And again, I'll just play a little bit of this. I think it'll help kind of just give you a visual as to why people are passionate about it. They get trophies and plaques and certificates and medals, just like we would award the top sprinter at a track meet, right? So it was a really cool day. We had just about a full house in the arena. And I know Maggie usually shares a story about how a lot of these kids, when they get their medal, there's some of these kids, I mean, get really emotional about it because it's the first time that they've ever been acknowledged for something, because they never fell into the categories of being able to throw a ball the furthest or be the fastest or whatever, right? And so it's really cool. And even same thing with kids. We have kids who show up to these events that aren't even competing, and they will sit there for 6-7 hours to watch. You couldn't pay them to go watch a football game, but they will come and they will do this and they will watch. So just a cool snapshot into kind of what some of the events can look like and why kids are passionate about it. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. We are wrapping up because we are just about there on time. We did help work with Michigan Virtual to sponsor a free 2-sketchy introduction to esports course. It's not really specific to our league. We offer some, documents and things that you can use. Obviously, we explain what our league is. It really just talks about the college and career benefits to offering esports related courses and curriculum and programs within your school. So anybody, administrators, educators can take it. Again, it's on the Michigan Virtual Professional Learning Portal, 2-sketchies, free. So it's a cool course. And that is that link, that bit.ly, that'll take you right to the registration page of Michigan Virtual if you are interested. So you can pass that out to other friends, especially since it is certificate renewal season. Otherwise, there is info for both Maggie and myself. So if you have any questions, looking for resources, you want to be connected to see if you've got somebody else in your backyard, in your county, in your athletic league that's already doing this, that we can help connect you with to help onboard. Maggie and I can take phone calls, we can hop on Zoom calls, we can even, depending on if our schedules allow it, we can come to a board meeting and chat. If you really want to get us in front of some additional decision makers, we are able to do so, again, because we are, the dedicated time to really help provide this experience. So I think that is it for the MHSEL side of things. So we will hang tight for a while. And if you have any questions, I think there's a way I can even unmute you if that makes it easier to, if you want to talk, to be able to kind of explain maybe some things, just raise your hand or whatnot, and we'll do that. Otherwise, we will send all this info as a follow-up. So thank you for hanging out with us today. Excited to have you think about joining us next fall, and we'll sit tight, see if there's any questions.